The following presentation has been brought to you by HSF Productions.
The Impromptu Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Jeff and Becky.
Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Tally66. Over to my left, as always, is my brother Damien. How's it going tonight?
It's going well. How are you, bud?
I'm doing good. A little tired.
Good.
It's a long weekend, but we're all good. We had an awesome night of wrestling on Saturday. Why don't you say we get right into reviewing it?
Let's do it.
So we did our prediction show last week, as we always do. Then we get to watch the show on Saturday, as we always do. And as we always do, let's go over match by match, score for score, prediction for prediction, and see how he did this time around on this paper. So it was kind of a surprise. These matches were not announced until like day of. I'm pretty sure. I didn't see them anywhere. I caught them on Instagram mid-afternoon while I was watching the Kentucky Derby, actually. So we had a couple matches on the buy-in. First off, we had Janella versus Serpentico. I guess we should say that, yeah, because these matches were kind of spur of the moment, if you will, we didn't actually have official predictions, but I mean, we kind of had a conversation just as we went, and I mean, these are pretty clear-cut predictions anyways. So what did you think of this matchup, Janella versus Serpentico?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent match. Serpentico is a really good wrestler, and I mean, Joey Janela is just awesome. There was the one kind of odd part in it. I'm not sure if you remember there, where Serpentico was on the top rope and then he wasn't really jumping, and then he just jumped down and seemed like he was gonna do his splash that he always does, and then he didn't do it, and then they ended up doing it right after. So yeah, we thought maybe Joey was too far away and he wasn't confident on the length of the jump or whatever, but other than that, I thought it's fairly decent, and I think we would have both picked Janelle on this one.
Oh, for sure.
I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird spot because he stood there for, it was a few beats, if you're familiar with the theater term, and it just. Yeah, it was just awkward looking. And then he jumps down. They do a scuffle in the opposite corner, and they go right back to like the same setup, and then he does the splash, misses. Janela gets the knees up, and then he goes up and hits the elbow for the 1-2. The main kind of interesting part out of this is that we finally hear a name to this unusual pairing of Serpentico and Luther being Chaos Project. What, like, this is I've been ripping on AEW for the naming of their groups for a long time, and I mean, this one's no different. This is, I don't know, just seems weak. Everything they've been coming up with is just weak.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many veteran guys there and like really creative guys. So I don't know, are they leaving it up to the guys to name themselves? I don't know. This might be where a Vince type situation.
Yeah, filtration needs to come ahead.
Right.
I mean, I was kind of doubtful about the Inner Circle when they came out. I'm like, that's kind of late, but it totally fits. And the way that they, worked into that name was actually really well done. I mean, the Nightmare Family, if you want to call that a faction, is great. The Elite was already established. That's great. But then, we get the Death Triangle and the Nightmare Collective, which failed, and stuff like that. It's just, they've been hit and miss lately. But Luther's a veteran guy. Serpentico is young and talented and high flying. I can only hope that they'll snag Abaddon for this little faction of theirs. I think she would fit in with Luther. I think that's a match made in heaven. I think you could do King Kong Bundy, Miss Elizabeth type fascination angle with Luther and Abaddon, maybe. I think
Right.
And Serpentico's just like, I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean?
One of these things don't belong. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it was a good kickoff to the night, nonetheless. And yeah, we got a new tag team, Chaos Project. Exciting stuff there. Still on the buy-in, we had Private Party versus Dark Orders 3 and 4, which is Silver and Reynolds. That we had talked about it in the prediction show, how it was going to be weird not having Private Party on the show, and sure enough, here they are. They sneak in on the buy-in. This was an amazing match. This was a really well done match, and it's almost sad that it was on the buy-in on YouTube and wasn't on the main card.
Yeah, because I can only imagine that some people are not watching the buy-in, right?
Right.
Yeah, this was an amazing match, and I think if I remember correctly, you called it that Silver was the man of the match. He did really, really well, and yeah, when we talk about this next match, I really feel like this one deserved to be on the main show, and maybe that one could have been a buy-in show, but
which we
good for those guys, and I hope next time this propels them to be, part of the main event.
Yeah, for sure. There was a confusing spot for me in this one though, because on commentary, I can't remember who it was, but they mentioned that Dark Order won a match last night. They're like, oh, that's the move they used last night to win. I was like, oh, these guys got a win. That's cool. I went and watched the Friday night special edition of Dark, and it was 5 and 10 that were on Dark last night and they didn't win. So I mean, I was super confused of what was going on with what was said on commentary. But it had me excited. Dark Order is really coming in. They're getting some popularity on BTE and whatnot. Maybe this was their coming out party to put one over on a hot team in Private Party. Just didn't work out that way, and it was close though. Like we mentioned, Silver was kind of the man of the match. He had quite the fire up and comeback late in the match there, and it was a good match, but Private Party.
I mean, you've said many times that like these guys are the jobbers, and you don't expect these guys to ever win. And I feel like after the last couple of matches these guys have been in, like these guys can really wrestle, and I think at some point that they're gonna get the push. They'll stop the comedy side, and then they'll be real. Probably not with the Dark Order, though. Feel like they'll leave the Dark Order.
Not on their own accord, though.
Yeah.
I mean, and we'll talk about the Dark Order a little bit more later in the night. And I really wanted these guys to pull this one out, but going up against Private Party, I didn't think they would. And Private Party goes over. They hit a surprise gin and juice, 1, 2, 3. And that was it for the buy-in. Let's get right into the main card. Wasn't the greatest start to a show there's ever been. There's definitely been worse starts to the show though. This was the tooth and nail match, Britt Baker versus Big Swole, and I mean, we had the discussion pretty much all the way through this match. I'm like, are they doing this live? No, it can't be. It was still light out at that point, and when they were inside it looked dark, so were parts of this filmed, were parts of this done live. It seems like a lot of unnecessary work for Britt and Swole to get, Britt was very dolled up. She had her eyes all glittered up and done to do that twice, for the maybe 2 or 3 minutes that they were maybe live outside of Daly's place. It seems weird, but yeah, who knows? They could have did it all last night and just had it cut up in different segments. But then to me, that seems like a lot of work, unnecessary work. But what did you think of the tooth and nail match?
I don't know, it just didn't hit, and I don't even think I could tell you what I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
And it was short too. It was kind of a hardcore match. I mean, there was no rules in that respect or anything like that.
Right. Which we thought it would be.
Yeah, one of the highlights was the huge DDT on top of the gator when they were outside, and yeah, I felt like I was spending most of the time trying to figure out if any of this was live or not. I'm looking for details. Like out the window, it looks like it's dark, but when they were outside, it was light, and why is that? And then there's shadows, and I couldn't really focus in on the match. And then the ending was kind of just meh.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good idea using the needle to freeze the leg, and then we didn't even really get a lot of leg selling.
Well, and that's where my big critique of the match comes, is like, things are fine, but then they bring out this needle spot and they're kind of fighting over who's going to get stabbed with it. Britt stabs herself, which I think makes sense. It kind of works with the story of the characters a little bit. And now I'm excited for, at least 3, 4, 5 more minutes of just Britt Baker trying to walk, and she can't, as her leg slowly becomes more and more numb. But they never left that room. And all of a sudden, the happy gas comes out and Britt's knocked out. Match is over. Like, it was very abrupt. I feel like they could have did a lot more with this dead leg than they could have did, in that beginning part where Britt's kind of like awkwardly stalking her through the office. It was just, yeah, I don't know. It was just, it missed.
Yeah. And if it was somewhat pre-recorded, then I think they could have done a lot better. Like set wise, it could have been a little bit better. And, I don't know, add more dentist type imagery in there.
Right.
Like they had an actual like DeWalta drill. Like, why not get Swole strapped to a chair and get some of like, the equipment going or something like that. And it looked very fake. Yeah, that's true. I would agree with that.
All right. Well, Big Swole wins by happy gas knockout, I guess.
Yeah.
One thing we can say about this match is we've never seen it before. It was something different. It was a new way to end a wrestling match. I don't know if we've ever happy gassed anybody to sleep. The only thing I can think of is when Austin attacks Vince in the hospital. I think he puts the gas mask on him as he flails about, but that wasn't technically a match, so it doesn't count. We both picked Swole on this one, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah.
So after match number 1, we're tied.
What's that?
After match number 1, we are tied.
Yeah. Off to a hot start. Let's move on to one of the better matches of the night. We talked extensively about this during our prediction show on why these two teams were picked and where they would be on the card and stuff like that. They are at the beginning of the card, which, I mean, read into what you want for later in the night. But Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express, they got their spot by beating Private Party and SCU on Dynamite the week before the go home show. Yeah, this was a terrific match, like we thought it would be. Lots of high flying, lots of kicks. You called that one. Lots of kicks in this one. I don't even know what to say about this. It's exactly what we thought it was going to be. It was terrific. And, you know, there wasn't much story outside of that.
Yeah, I thought all competitors did really well. I think Jungle Boy probably the highlight of this match. He had the bigger spots. He was kind of more of the story, if there really was one, than Luchasaurus. He was more of the sort of supporting character. It was a lot of just, you know, Jungle Boy. He got his arse kicked.
Yeah, he did.
He took a lot of bumps in this one, and it's pretty much all Bucks, which I feel like we kind of anticipated. I didn't really think this was going to be too close, because how are the Young Bucks going over to Jurassic Express? So, but yeah, really decent match.
There was a little bit of story. Now that I'm like thinking back on it, you know, we had the Young Bucks. They're slowly teasing this heel turn potentially with Kenny. You know, they're mad at Hangman. They kind of have a chip on their shoulder. They feel like they should have been in the tag team title match later on that night. So you're still seeing that. From the week before, you know, Matt was ripping up the fans' sign and pouring beer on him. He still kind of had that anger behind all his moves, which was good to see. And you know, Luchasaurus doesn't give a Canadian destroyer, but he sure took one, and probably one of the high spots of the night. So that was all kind of fitting too. Yeah, it was a great match. Again, we both picked Young Bucks on this one. I think it was really hard for either of us to take a risk on Jurassic Express in this situation. But yeah, Young Bucks pull it off. Again, another teased Meltzer driver. It stopped. Really, I've never seen this like flip choke slam that they did on Nick Jackson. Luchasaurus does on Nick Jackson off that Meltzer driver counter. That was pretty cool. But the Young Bucks pull it out. BTE trigger. It seems to be their new finisher, kind of the stolen finisher from the Golden Lovers. Yeah, 2-2 after 2, not too bad. Next matchup of the night was the Casino Battle Royale. This is where things are gonna get interesting. A lot on the line. Winner AEW Championship match at a later date.
I thought you meant the prediction points were on the line.
Well, that too. But no, a lot on the line in the match. Winner getting an AEW Championship match. We had the mystery of the Joker was always going to be an exciting spot. How do we even do this? The match starts off with the clubs. We got Trent, CD, Christopher Daniels, Jake Hager, The Butcher, and Ray Phoenix. I don't even think anybody got eliminated in this first group.
No, and I thought this was one of the more exciting parts of this entire match. I thought was the beginning. Some really good wrestling, even with all of the chaos. But yeah, no one got eliminated. I think we both commented that, you know, once the 4 groups came in, like there was a lot of competitors still kind of in there, which we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, it wasn't until, you know, even the Hearts coming out, there was still only a handful gone, maybe 5 at that point. We'd have to go back and check, but yeah, and then the Spades get in there. There was like 15 people in there. It felt like.
Yeah, I think easy.
So the next group to come out, again, 3 minutes later, Diamonds. We had Frankie Kazarian, Will Hobbs, Chuck Taylor, Santana, and Ortiz. So Trent gets some help with his partner. Christopher Daniels gets some help with his partner coming out, but Santana and Ortiz coming out together, and I mean, they went right after Chucky T. Like, I don't even think Chucky T made it to the ring yet to help Trent. And Proud and Powerful were right on him, and they did some big spots with him on the outside of the ring before anybody ever became legal in the Battle Royal, which is always a good spot to see in Battle Royals or Royal Rumbles. What do you think of this group?
Yeah, I thought the whole Proud and Powerful, mostly Chucky T stuff, I thought that was really good. I like that story was still continuing through this match. And yeah, I was just trying to, I had made a note of who was eliminated. But I'm not seeing them here.
Right.
So I wonder if if Blade was in clubs. Must be Blade.
Yeah, you have the Butcher twice.
Yeah.
You have Butcher twice.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
I can't remember if it was in the second group where Blade, or I want to say it was probably in the third group. But this second part of the match I thought was really good.
Next up was the Hearts. This is where things got kind of really amped up with the people coming out. We had Billy Gunn, Pentagon, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, and Darby Allin. Darby Allin has had his issues with the Team Taz. Brian Cage being a part of that, Ricky Starks being a part of that. They're both in this group, and shit started hitting the fan at this point. Darby Allin went right for Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, of course, and this was an exciting, segment of the show.
Yeah, he brought out the skateboard, and I want to say Brian Cage punched the skateboard or something, and then got hit with it, and then there's fireworks going off in the background. The announcers don't even comment on it.
Not for
they did.
Time.
Yeah, they did. They're saying that it was, probably something to do with Labor Day, but you had your own theory about what this was about.
Yeah, so when AEW had their official press conference in Jacksonville to announce this is what's happening, that's when Jericho was introduced as being All Elite. Cody's famous "This is a revolution" speech or promo, if you will. Hangman comes out and announces he's going to be the first AEW champion and all that stuff. They did that outside of Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium, basically where Daly's place is. They were shooting off fireworks left, right, and center. It was a big production for anybody who went out to that. But the funny thing is that across the street is Jacksonville's arena, multi-purpose arena. They don't have a hockey team, but I mean that it's essentially what it is a hockey arena. Raw is happening like that night. This is Monday night. So Jericho tells a story about that day and how they couldn't help but chuckle that, Vince is probably losing his mind because who the hell's throwing off all these fireworks? God damn it. Because they're probably in the middle of production meetings, mid-afternoon and stuff like that. And they were blowing the place up. And it's just a funny story. So I kind of thought like, oh, is this Vince finally getting his, his revenge on AEW? Orlando's only 2-hour drive away from Jacksonville. I think they're just like, Florida's a very small state. I think everything's about 2 hours away from each other, but maybe he sent some people to go shoot some fireworks off, but I think it would be funny.
Performance center jobbers sent them down.
And I mean, we've already had the rumor that Tito Sabatelli was sent to AEW to spy. We saw him in one dark match. The Eric Bischoff is leaked. The Eric Bischoff big surprise return to TNT is leaked. and we don't see Sabatelli again. And Jericho was very adamant in Saturday Night Special on calling him out, and that's why we don't see him anymore, is that he was a spy. So, I mean, it's possible that some WWE crew got sent to Jacksonville to maybe destroy the party. I thought it was cool. It added atmosphere.
Yeah, no, I don't think it ruined it at all. It just seemed a bit weird. It was just out of place.
It was, I think,
because you expect that for Codys Entrance,
right?
But he wasn't on the card. So,
but I think it's a good call for the commentators just to comment on it. You know, you don't need to put the fireworks over, but just some people are celebrating Labor Day early. That's great. You know, and then they moved on. There was a crazy spot in this section of the match. Darby Allin eliminates Ricky Starks. There's some after elimination curricular activity, if you will. Ricky Starks pulls out the body bag, throws it in the ring. Brian Cage opens the body bag and reveals a bag of tacks. Poorly fills the body bag with tacks. He left, I would say, the majority of them on the ring. I don't know if that was by design or not, but he proceeds to stuff Darby Allin into the body bag, and quite the vicious powerbomb outside for the elimination onto the platform. And it looks like Darby might have hit the stairs. What did you think of this spot? Like, do you think it was necessary?
I mean, I get what they were going for, and I totally think this is a Darby be like, yeah, let's do this. It's original. No one's probably done anything like this before. But the problem is, Big BC there, Brian Cage, didn't throw little Darby Allin quite over the top rope, and he caught, I'm thinking it was his legs on the rope, and then he kind of fell awkwardly. So where he would probably expect to be thrown and land on his back, he catches it and kind of flips awkwardly.
Right. Much like Nick did in the ladder match. Flips his legs, and physics tells us that your head's going straight down at that point. I thought he got thrown too far. I forgot that. Yeah, flipped his leg.
Yeah, I think it was a different spot that the stairs came in. If I remember correctly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Cage needs to work on his upper body a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, start lifting those steel stairs. I mean, it works for Cena.
For sure. So yeah, scary moment for Darby Allin. It took him a while to get crawled out of that bag. The refs were on him immediately. It was a nasty fall. I haven't heard anything good or bad about Darby, so that usually means that he's probably it was all just a work.
Yeah, maybe just from our angle that we get to see, maybe it just looked bad, but
right. Even before this, probably the Spades had come out. We had Shawn Spears, Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, Sonny Kiss, and Lance Archer. Both our picks are in this group, being Lance Archer and Eddie Kingston. Shawn Spears does something similar to what he did during that brawl in the hype up on Dynamite for this match. He goes straight to commentary and cuts a mediocre Rock style, I'm gonna do commentary mid match style promo, but Shawn Spears trying to enhance his character a little bit. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and everybody who goes to comms always takes it out on Excalibur. So he did as well, and I mean, the whole thing is he's kind of letting everybody fight while he's staying fresh, right?
Yeah, it's classic heel move for a battle royal. But what did he say to commentary? He's like three legends of professional wrestling and Excalibur or something like that. 3 Hall of Famers and Excalibur. we get 2 minutes after this, we get the surprise entrant, the Joker. It ends up being Matt Sydal, formerly of Impact, formerly of WWE, also known as Evan Bourne. He's probably changed a lot since you would have, if you've ever seen this guy. You know, he's got the long hair, he rocks the beard now. Before, he was very short-haired, clean cut. Nickname in the WWE days was Little Cody, which I always thought was funny because they were totally twins. It's just one was this tall and one was this tall.
Right.
And like, I mean, whenever I see this guy, I can't help but think of the all-time greatest RKO ever is him doing the shooting star press, goes right into the RKO out of nowhere. It was epic. It was probably one of the better like catch surprise RKOs there ever was. Evan Bourne, you know, his nickname was Airborne. He's known for the shooting star press, arguably one of the best shooting star presses in the business. So what is he gonna do in his big AEW debut? Yeah, I'm gonna start off with the shooting star press. Will Hobbs is right there. He's all set up for it. And yeah, dry your shoes before you go out there, bud. Yikes.
Yeah.
One of the nastiest botches. I mean, he did land safely. It's not like he caught the back of his head on the way down or anything like we've seen some people do. But yeah, just one of those scary situations. He goes to push off, his toe slipped off, didn't quite have the ball of his feet on the ropes. They are smooth ropes in AEW. You got to be sure your footing. You know, there's no texture to them, if you will, like WWE or even Impact may have. So yeah, scary spot. He slips, takes a nasty back bump. Will Hobbs does his best to try to hide it and kind of covers him and asking him, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" But he finished the match, and the rest of his time in the match was fine. I believe he makes it to the end. He's one of the final four. But what did you think of this last group and Matt Sydal going into the finish of the Battle Royal?
Well, I do remember Evan Bourne. That name sounds super familiar, and I can envision what he looks like, and you're totally right. He does look like a little Cody. I remember the RKO, and if you're going to be famous for anything, you know, it's not a bad way to be famous, is to be, you know, RKO'd by the Legend Killer. Yeah, you know, besides this little flaw, I thought his debut was really good, and hopefully we see him again. The last group here was pretty exciting. Not even really for the quality of wrestling, but more of the sort of tension that they created. And I mean, it even had you at one point going, "Dude, you got this. Like, Kingston's totally winning this." Like, we really didn't know which way it was going to go. And you know, by the end, we had both of our guys on the outside of the ring with Kingston having his boys there to help out. I thought it was in the bag for me, but
I thought it was too.
It didn't turn out that way, and Lance Archer takes this one. And I mean, it's a good storyline, and I think this is going to play out really well in the coming next 2 months.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I get a point there. Our NWA mystery picks didn't pan out. Hopefully we get to see some more crossover soon, if at all. But I go up by 1, 3-2.
I'm not worried at this point.
You're not worried at this point? No, yet?
No.
Next matchup of the night was the Broken Rules match, the last man standing match. Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. Matt Hardy loses. He is out of AEW forever. And this is a very key tagline to this match because of how this match played out. I happened to go upstairs to grab some more pizza. I missed the beginning of this match. I'm not even sure how much I actually missed. But why don't you take this one away?
All right, so when the match starts, Matt Hardy is walking around the sort of lower level of the stadium, almost ground level with the stadium. I don't know if you'd call it the concourse or whatever, but he's yelling, looking for Sammy, and then Sammy comes around the corner in the gator and he just stops, and there's this moment of, you know, realization of what's going on here, and we're kind of reliving this story where Matt Hardy ran down Sammy and killed him one night on, was it Dynamite?
It was a Dynamite, yeah.
Yeah, it was Dynamite, yeah. So now the tables have turned, and it's Hardy who's going to have to run for his life. It was pretty short-lived. We know that, you know, Matt Hardy doesn't, not the best runner with those knees and the bending of the legs. So he didn't have to run too far. Sammy ran into a pile of boxes and, you know, made a bunch of noise, but it was more
for the
wasn't
image.
Yeah, it was more for just the imagery of it all. And that's pretty much all you missed. They started to kind of, you know, fight, and they were walking over to a table, and we see a scissor lift come into view here. So the commentators do a really good job of setting this up. They're like, you know, they had the fans coming in that day, and they were picking up their packages for, you know, if they didn't have masks and whatnot, and the table was still set up there with all of the masks, and there just happened to be a scissor lift directly behind it. And I think this is where you came back, and I think at this point we know that this scissor lift is coming into play, right?
Sure. Well, this is so yeah. I'm coming down at this point, and they're beginning to climb the scissor lift, and I mean, I immediately recognized this part of the stadium wherever they were. They were kind of field level, underneath the stands on the one end zone. This is the exact spot that they did the spot in that tag team match that was Jericho Sammy versus Kenny and Hangman. Was that how that story went when we were leading up to the Stadium Stampede match? There's the build, and they ended up here, and they do the scissor lift spot. You know, they do a backdrop off the scissor lift through the tables below. Like they've done this spot before. It's set up exactly the same way. And that's where, you know, some people are forgetting when they start arguing about what went wrong in this spot. I guess I should tell you what went wrong. They end up at the top. It's raised up a little bit. There's a scuffle, a spear. They both go down, and Matt Hardy, can you say he went through any of the tables? The tables broke, but he smacks the back of his head on that concrete. Pretty clear as day. And he is clearly knocked out. Like, out. He is stiff-armed, eyes in the back of his head, out. And it was a scary situation. It was a scary spot to watch. Aubrey called for the X right away. That's usually the clear-cut symbol that this is not part of the show and we need help now. And it surprised me that it took Doc Samson so long to get there. I don't think he was, you know, behind camera rings. You know, he might have still been sitting ringside. And the commentators have talked about that. You know, the dressing rooms are in behind the football stadium, and they do have to take those golf carts to get to Daly's place. So you can kind of imagine the trek that Doc Samson had to do to get to Matt, and it did take him a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I want to say that in that match that you're referring to, the tag team match, was that a 8-man? Like I want to say Jake Hager was in there as well.
Well,
but when that spot happened, it was more of a power bomb rather than
right.
Like a spear, and they teased the power bomb. It was actually Matt gonna power bomb Sammy in, but he kind of reversed it. So the spear just really propelled them off of the scissor lift, and with I want to say there was only one table there, they just overshot it. Just kind of a fluke thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if it was a little bit too, like, you know, Aubrey not having, you know, a ton of experience as a ref, and then, you know, doing the X, did they kind of maybe feel like this was premature and they kind of wanted to see how it was going?
Well,
You'd think in this kind of style of match that the Doc would be around.
yeah, I feel like it too. So yeah, we can't speculate. We don't know what happened behind the camera. All we can see is what we see. And all I can say is that it took Samson a long time to get into camera frame. From the time that he hits his head, the time that Aubrey gives the X, until we actually see him. And then, I mean, Sammy did a fairly good job of selling it off, giving them as much time as they could. You know, he gets up, he walks around, he kind of takes the camera attention away from what was happening. He's taking his jacket off, and then, yeah, he calls for the 10 count. This is a last man standing match. Aubrey starts the 10 count, and I mean, Matt Hardy comes back to life, whatever you want to say, but he's still clearly not out. They tried to, you know, move the match along. Sammy was basically trying to carry Matt Hardy. He could barely walk. At you know, at 2 attempts to try to stay on his feet, Aubrey calls this match. The match is over. She calls it.
Yeah, she did the X again or something, right? I think Samson,
Well,
at
she
this
did
point, he
this
hadn't come
and-
out yet.
They waved it off. No, Samson was there when he was still on the ground. But that's when Sammy pulls the camera away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
that's what I remember. But
I mean, you
doesn't
have
matter.
to, for all the people that did not like this, and we should tell our viewers that there's a lot of backlash for how this match went down.
It really was.
Put yourself in Matt Hardy's shoes. He's at the end of his career. I feel like he knows he has about a good 2 years left in him. He started at this new company. We go into a pandemic. Storylines can't be done. And then here's a match to really start to propel him. And then this happens. And this is a win or go home match. Like, he can't lose this match.
Yeah.
So he has to keep going. And I don't know. I mean, he was clearly knocked out. But do we know the severity of it? You know, it looked horrible. It looked absolutely horrible, but
this is where I'm talking about people, like you mentioned the backlash. Like, people are saying that this spot should have been done, it was dumb. But no, that's why I bring up the other match before. They've done that spot before. Yeah, sure, they did it a little differently. Sure, it was a spear this time. But I mean, it's still up to Matt to lean back and propel himself. Like, for the people that are blaming this on Sammy, like, I don't agree with that. Matt knew what he was doing. They were there to set the spot up. Like, if you know anything about professional wrestling behind the scenes, like, you set it up, you take it. That's like, I'm not taking a nasty bump off of anything if I'm not there for the setup to see what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, that's just there. So Matt was probably very much a part of the setup. It was just an unfortunate accident that, you know, maybe he pushed off too much. You know, who knows? We don't know.
Yeah.
But
I think people are blaming Sammy because, you know, he's got a lot of force coming with that spear. Is that, you know, is Matt able to control that? I feel like it was the setup as well. They should have had another table. I feel like when they did this spot months ago, there was more than one table to land on. And I don't know. And you set that up and it still might not even go well.
that's just it. You don't know these things. It's a risk. It's a stunt. It's no different than doing a stunt in a movie. Stuntmen get hurt all the time, but they don't go blaming, you know, the setup or the actors or anything like that. It's up to them. They did the stunt wrong and they got hurt, and that's all there is to it. So, and I know,
but is part of the backlash to the fact that they didn't stop the match. So one thing was that they did the spot.
That's what I don't get.
But they kept them.
I understand that they restarted the match, but they stopped the match. Aubrey did everything that she could have did to stop that match, but there is a very awkward moment when Matt Hardy goes off into a room. Sammy kind of makes his way back to the ring, and then he comes back out. You know what I mean? Like, that's not on Sammy. That's not on AEW. I guarantee you that's Matt Hardy doing this. I'm okay. Let's just get to the finish of this match. Let's just do it. We'll be all right. And I'm sure Tony was there. Like, are you sure? Are you sure I can sign this contract real quick? And you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't understand.
Well, I mean,
backlash.
He got his legs back. He climbed that. I don't know what you call it. Yeah, like he climbed it. Like he couldn't walk before, but he climbed that thing. So he got a bit back for sure. Do you think that part of this backlash is Matt's wife tweeting?
Well, I was just about to bring that up. It's all on her. It's all on Rebby Hardy, because she is like, ever since that chair shot, which was clearly an accident. It was clearly that was Sammy's fault. He threw the chair in a wrong manner, whatever. But it's her, like, just persistently blame on everybody except for Matt. But I mean, that's your husband. I kind of understand that, but shit goes wrong sometimes. It's just unfortunate that shit has been going wrong for Matt Hardy a lot lately. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, they go right into the finish of the match. We kind of like, they totally skipped the rest of this match. They just wanted to get to the finish because, I mean, it was the accident, the comeback to life, and then Sammy takes one bump off the scaffolding and it's a 10 count. It was the right decision. I think they handled it the best that they could in the moment. Hindsight's always 20/20, but you got to play the cards that you're dealt, and I think they did the best they could have.
Yeah, I mean, it's a live show. You don't get to, pay-per-view. You don't get to cut to commercial break and figure it out. And I mean, this isn't vanilla wrestling. This is not the ring comes crashing down.
Yeah, for sure.
This isn't Matt's on the to guide your fall. Like, that was cement he was on. Yeah. So I applaud Matt Hardy for keeping this going, for the story, for his character, and for AEW. I think it would have looked a lot worse if he didn't complete the match. And then how do you get around this, him leaving AEW? I'm sure he knew what his health was at that point. So all these people that, you know, are thinking maybe AEW doesn't care about Matt Hardy, I'm sure this was his decision.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. He was in that room saying, I am okay. We can get through the finish. We can get through the finish. It should be noted, like, another argument, I can't stand backlash like this. It just pisses me off. But another argument for this is that this is AEW's first time dealing with this. They've never had kind of a failure, a botch to this level where you needed to figure it out on the fly live on TV. WWE's been around for freaking 70 years. They've done this before. I mean, not live on TV because, you know, the 40s and whatnot, but I mean, shit happens in front of a crowd. You got to deal with it. They've had the practice. They've had the reps. Mankind off the Hell in the Cell. Do you think WWE received any backlash for that spot? Fuck no. So why are you being so hard on Sammy? Like, it wasn't his fault. Anyways, they got to the finish. Matt Hardy wins the Broken Rules match. He's rushed to hospital right away. According to the report coming from Tony, he cleared his CT scans and his MRIs, and he doesn't have a concussion. Probably he's gonna be on Dynamite, you know, tomorrow night as we're recording this. Seems to be fine. Of course, Rebby Hardy has a different narrative to tell you. Concussions aren't, you know, a thing to be played around with. This is all bullshit. But again, that's her husband, and she's going to be protected of him. So we'll see what Matt Hardy has to say tomorrow. But in the record books, he has won this match. We both get a point on it. Let's move on. That was a half an hour. We talked about that.
Okay. Well, I mean, it was pretty huge, and I think
it was a big part of the show.
You know, these people that are complaining about it, I don't know why you're watching wrestling. Like, go watch figure skating or something.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. People are gonna get hurt. It's a physical sport.
Wrestling is much like NASCAR. You don't watch it for them to complete the laps perfectly. You watch for the crashes and the burns. And, you know, we had one this time.
This was the big one. Yeah.
This was the big one. Tell the Dega, baby. All right. As we move on with the show, we get to the AEW Women's World Championship match. Hikaru Shida versus Thunder Rosa. This is one of the big anticipated ones of the night for us, especially after that Thunder Rosa match on Dynamite. Maybe we hyped this one up a little too much in our minds, but it was still a really good match. It wasn't as spectacular as I was hoping it would be.
Yeah. After watching Thunder Rosa and Deebs, I was pumped for this, and yeah, it didn't. It was good. It just wasn't. It wasn't as good as that Deebs match, and I don't even know if I could tell you why. I don't know if it was a communication issue or something like that. It was a decent match. I couldn't even, if my life depended on it right now, I couldn't even tell you one thing that went on in that match, but
right,
it was a good match.
But yeah, I think it always comes down to communication. You know, we got a Mexican born, Spanish speaking, English second language going up against a Japanese born, barely any English, you know, so where's the middle ground? I'm sure they sat there and planned this match out, you know, pretty much step for step before they went out there. It had that feel to it, you know, spot A, spot B, spot C kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes that comes out. I'm sure if these girls got to touch each other again, that sounded weird. I apologize. If they got to be in the ring again and wrestle again, then you know, it would probably be better. the first time's always awkward, right?
Yeah.
And
I felt like they were using a lot of visual facial cues as well.
Right.
There's a lot of times where they're like staring at one another and then they would start running the ropes.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it was good. It was just, I don't know.
Just missed.
I don't know. Yeah.
Should be noted, Thunder Rosa really put the pressure on Sheeta. She really worked her for the majority of this match, and I think I called it like maybe 4 or 5 minutes into this match that like this is the story they're telling, is they're showing off Thunder Rosa, and then Sheeta's gonna make that big heroic comeback and steal the win. And that's exactly what happened. So.
Yeah, and it leaves both champions strong. I don't think this buries Thunder Rosa at all. And,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, so we both picked Sheeta on that one. We both get another point. We're sitting at 5-4 after 5 matches, I believe.
Yep.
Here we get into a spot in the show where we get a little WWE jabs in. I thought this was really the only point for this, but it's all in good fun. It's Wednesday Night Wars, right? So Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, they're backstage with Alex Marvez, and they got a big announcement. And before Kip Sabian could even get the words out of his mouth, Penelope shows the ring. We're engaged. We're getting married. And another first for AEW where we're going to get an on-screen wedding. It sounds like they're going to get married live on Dynamite. Hopefully, AEW's been doing their contract signings fairly civil and there hasn't been too many shenanigans during the contract signings on AEW. So maybe this wedding will go off without a hitch, but if wrestling weddings have anything to tell us, that only Macho Man can pull a wedding off in a wrestling ring without anybody getting smashed or anything like that. So
right.
We'll see what happens. But the big announcement is that Kip Sabian's going to announce his best man on Dynamite tomorrow night, and I can't help but feel like this is going to be another new face, a debut, if you will.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, you know what? I didn't think about it. In my mind, I was hoping that this would be Jimmy coming back.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's unlikely to happen.
For sure.
I like your what you're saying here. A good way to introduce somebody, and I like Sabian as a singles competitor, but I thought he did a lot better working off of somebody. Like when he was working with Jimmy, I thought that group really worked. So if they could get somebody with him that he can work off of, because I feel like right now he can't do it alone. But if he has somebody to play off of, then it'll come off a lot better. So are we thinking somebody from the UK maybe?
I mean, I would have to think so to keep that dynamic. It was kind of what worked with Jimmy, is that they were both UK guys, and there was a backstory of them being friends outside of the ring and stuff like that. So off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody it could be. The wants of it, the dream matches, I want it to be Will Ospreay. He's a British guy. He's a great wrestler. He's worked with Sabian before, so that makes sense, but I doubt it'll ever happen. I think he's all locked up, elsewhere. Maybe a Zack Sabre Jr. Yeah, I don't know. It's anybody's guess. Marty Skrull. Maybe I'll get. Maybe
you
I'll
want
get
him bad in AEW, don't you?
Yeah, but interesting stuff. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow night on Dynamite. Next matchup of the night was the Dark Order being represented by Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, Brody Lee, and Colt Cabana versus Natural Nightmares, Matt Cardona, and Scorpio Sky. As far as all the 8-man tag matches that we've seen in the past little while, this one was really good. They did this one right. Much like the 12-man match that we saw many weeks ago. They did everything right in this one. We got the story of the Dark Order kind of crushing the baby faces, them coming back to be cut down again, and then we get the story of Brody Lee and Colt Cabana, their relationship kind of coming to perhaps coming to an end, at least being frayed a little bit the way this match ended. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent match for an 8-man tag. We have some singles competitors in here with Scorpio Sky and Matt Cardona, and we got some ballets in Allie and Brandy, and Anna Jay makes an appearance and tries to interfere, and Brandy with a huge kick right to the chest, and
it's getting better.
Yeah, I like the ending. I like the ending of it, and Brody just kind of going off on Colt, and really just didn't he leave him into the ring? Like he just left him there, and everybody walked away from him.
It was Evil Uno stayed back and kind of put his arm around him and like, yeah, I've been there. It's okay. We'll get through this. Expect a paper shot on BTE on Monday.
Right.
It'll be okay. But yeah, this all plays into what we saw on the beatdown hype up for this. This is the first time Colt's seeing this side of the Dark Order, and it's time. Brody Lee's kind of bringing him to that point, like either you're in or you're out. And, this is really what's happening here kind of thing. So, yeah, Colt's felt the wrath of Brody Lee for the first time. And I'm kind of excited to see where this ends up. Is Colt going to stay and try to win back the approval of Brody Lee, or does he maybe exit Dark Order and go his own way? And maybe we'll get to see a Colt Brody match maybe for the TNT title. But, yeah, this matchup didn't quite end up the way I thought it was going to be. It was close. It looked like it was every domino was falling in exactly where I placed it, but then somewhat of a little bit of a swerve, and Dustin comes in, gets the big comeback at the end, and gets the win, gets the roll up victory on Colt. Colt gets a little cocky, thinks he can get one more move in after the big discus lariat from Brody Lee, and it's reversed, and that's all she wrote. So the baby faces go over on this one. We both had Dark Order going over on that one, so we don't get any points. Still 5-4, but we got some story progression, which is always good. So
yeah, I feel like Brody is still doing this imagery of Vince McMahon.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like
I thought he was getting away from it there, but no, he's definitely still playing that.
Yeah, like I feel like this is moments where, people wanted to leave WWE, and this is like, show me your allegiance or you'll never come back ever again kind of thing. Feel like that is the story that's kind of playing out here.
Cool.
So,
interesting.
Yeah, I'm liking the Brody stuff.
Oh, for sure. He's one of the best characters on the show right now.
I'm still not worried at this point. I'm only one down.
You're only one down, yeah. After this matchup, sorry, I moved the slide a little quickly there, but after this matchup, Dustin goes right into an interview with Tony Schiavone, and Tony gives him the news that he's going to be facing Brody Lee for the TNT title on Wednesday Night Dynamite this week. What do you think of this matchup? Solo Dustin versus Brody Lee. I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic match. I mean, two big guys, two guys that probably wrestled in the vanilla brand. They'll be used to one another.
Two big guys.
Yeah. I feel like this is one of those matches that we already know the outcome. I can't see Dustin getting this belt. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty much a foregone conclusion that Brody Lee retains on this one. But it makes an interesting storyline because in his promo he talks about how, you know, Cody, little brother, get better, you'll be back, and you'll come take that belt back, you know, where it belongs. And then that's when Tony says, well, actually, you know, you're getting the title shot. And then his mood changes, right? So maybe this is the beginning of a rift in the Nightmare family. I mean, it's possible that Dustin could take it off Brody's hands, but I think it's doubtful. We'll have to see. It's going to be a good show on...
they're going to tease it for
Dynamite.
sure. Like,
They're
there's
gonna
going to
tease
be
it for
some
sure, yeah.
false finishes.
Yeah, for sure. Colt's going to try to help to get his Brody Lee's approval back, and it's going to backfire.
You are always playing the bonus points, man.
Yeah, you got to get them when you can.
Yeah.
All right. As we move on, AEW World Tag Team Championship match, Omega and Hangman versus FTR, probably match of the night for me. This was an amazing display of tag team wrestling, just as we thought it was going to be. There was story all over this match. The psychology was amazing. These are four guys that understand how to portray a story, how to pay off a story after a long build up. This was an amazing display of professional wrestling. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I have to agree. This was a good old wrestling match. Hard hitting, good combinations. There's not a lot of, we'll call them spots that we could really go by, but just really good wrestling. If you haven't seen this match, definitely go and try to check it out. I'm sure Fight TV still has a rewatch that you could that you can buy. So
yeah, I think we've talked about it before in FTR matches, but you know, their whole thing is following the rules. You know, when they sign their contract, you know, the tag ropes have to be there. You know, there's all these stipulations about the tag team wrestling to be tag team wrestling, and then, you know, they're all about following the rules, yet they are the worst for breaking them, which I just love that aspect of their tag team right now. You know, they're definitely playing the heels, something that they maybe not got to do very often in WWE when they were brought up to the main roster. They were very much a comedy act, working with the Usos and whatnot, which worked. They nailed that aspect, but they're very comfortable in this role. You know, that kind of NXT revival role. I think they're back in their bread and butter. You know, they seem to have fun out there in this match, and it showed. Is what I'm trying to say there. Absolutely. And I think you made a comment about midway through this match about how it's almost felt a little bit odd not having any crowd reaction to some of the things that were happening. I think with the crowd to get those pops and the boos and the oohs and the holy shits and all that stuff, that would have brought this match from like a 4, you know, to a 4.5, maybe even a 5-star match. Because like this match was really good if you kind of watch it. You know what I mean? If you don't just like live it, you know, which you know a lot of professional wrestling is just like kind of reacting with the crowd and stuff like that. But yeah, it definitely took a hit because of the no crowd, or the lack thereof a big crowd.
Yeah. And probably the biggest spot was Kenny with the V trigger on Hangman.
Yeah, the setup to the finish of this was really, I mean, it was thought out and it was put together, and they pulled it off really, really cleanly, I thought. All the, almosts and the teases and the false finishes leading up to this spot, but finally, Kenny's holding, I think it's Cash. Kenny's holding him. Hangman comes over with the buckshot lariat. They duck out of the way. Kenny ducks too. He throws Cash into Hangman. Hangman's holding him. They go for the V-trigger. Cash gets out of the way again, but unfortunately Hangman doesn't duck. Takes the V-trigger. There's a moment where like, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. Cash kind of throws Kenny out of the way and goes for the pin, and Dax is there to hold off Kenny, to try to break up the pin. It was a really good finish to the match. Like I said, they really thought that one out because they kind of hit every spot to finish the story. Like I said, these are 4 guys that really know how to pay off a long feud. If you could even call it a feud, because I mean, these guys are pretty much all friends up till last week. So
Right.
Yeah, it was a great story. It was a great payoff, and I mean, we've said it many times. It's all about this isn't even one of those times. It's not all about what was the end of the match, but the end of the match is very, very important. FTR celebrates their win. Tully's got the beers out for them. They leave a couple for Hangman, knocked out in the corner. They leave, and then Kenny kind of has the stage to himself. He's got one of the side tables in the ring. It looks like he's about to use it, much like MJF with the chair on Cody at All Out last year that we talked about in our revisited show. Decides he's not going to use it. He kind of throws it down. At this point, Hangman's up on his feet, and it's like he's going in for the the hug or the I'm sorry I lost this match, and Kenny just lets him drop, and that's quite the visual for a tag team that probably should have broke up 6 months ago.
Right.
Like, this story started when they won the titles against SCU back in December. Like, this is how long this has been going on, and I can't put story over enough. The visual of Kenny letting Hangman fall, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we always complained about with Vanilla Brand is there was no long-term storytelling. The stories kind of went from one pay-per-view to another, which is usually about 4 to 5 weeks apart. So to have this story go this long, over 6 months for sure, was just really cool. And that visual of Hangman falling almost as if he was kind of drunk and stumbling around, and Kenny just leaving him there, and then Kenny walks away, and I noticed this right away is he walks down the heel tunnel.
Yes.
So where he would normally go out the right tunnel, he goes out the left one. So could have been a subtle, it was a pretty subtle point. Maybe not everybody might have caught that one. And the camera follows Kenny to the back where he goes in and sees the Young Bucks.
Yeah, we get.
What did you think about this back stage stuff?
I liked it. I liked that it was one cut. There's no cutaways. It was one solid shot right from when Kenny comes through the curtain and goes through the backstage area. I called it out right away. I'm like, oh, he's gonna run into the Bucks. The Bucks are probably there waiting. Turns the corner. There they are. They're trying to, reason with him. Go take a shower. Wait this out. And Kenny's like, no, I'm out of here. I'm done with this shit. You're either coming with me or you're not. Eventually, they get out to the parking lot. There's an SUV sitting there waiting for him. Didn't even go get his gear. I was just like, dude, like, your gear's the other way. What are you doing? But I mean, for the sake of the story, it all kind of made sense. And yeah, either you're coming with me or you're not. He gets in the vehicle, drives away, and the Young Bucks are left there in the parking lot, much like Hangman was left in the ring. So, I mean, the heel turn, I mean, he walked down the heel tunnel. I mean, that's as clear cut as it gets, right? Kenny's heel now. The Young Bucks have been teasing it. Will they join him? I mean, we're just gonna have to keep watching and to see. And this 6 to 9 month story that we've been watching, it might not be over yet. Maybe we're gonna get that Kenny Hangman solo feud that we've wanted since they won the title. So yeah, it's exciting stuff. I'm really pumped for this kind of section of the roster right now. It's all
dude. The Elite is fine.
The Elite is fine.
They're fine.
Cody is on Twitter. He's like, you guys, we're fine. It's all good. We're fine. Kenny's the leader of the Elite. We're good.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I missed Bullet Club. All right, this brings us into the second to last matchup of the night. This is the first ever Mimosa Mayhem challenge, or I always want to say challenge. It's friggin' All Out Revisited. I've been saying Cracker Barrel challenge. Mimosa Mayhem match. Jericho versus Cassidy 3. Another highly anticipated one. We weren't sure how this one was going to play out, how it was going to be set up. Very quickly after some promo ads and whatnot, I think... oh no, that didn't happen yet. But we come back to the match. It's set up. We got 2 big panels on ringside, each with a pool of mimosa. I'll put some quotes there. What did you think of the setup? First off,
it was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting. I did not expect 2 vats for sure, and I expected this tank or vat or whatever you want to call it to be further away from ringside. I felt like this was going to be, you were kind of dragging your opponent there and somehow, getting them in there. So to have this platform level with the ring and the pools at that level, like you could pretty much trip and fall into it. You're not really being so much thrown into it.
Right. And I mean, we saw a couple almost during this matchup. Orange Cassidy takes a bump on the apron. His foot goes into the pool, and Aubrey right away, no, you got to be all the way in, because Austin Gunn was just like, hey, freaking Austin Gunn is all over it. Aubrey's like, she's the best at that. So that was really good. There was a moment where Chris Jericho had to tiptoe around the edge. Like there's a couple moments where this match could have botched out and ended a little bit early, but for what the setup was, it wasn't what I was expecting, but I mean, they did well. Maybe opposed to having that vat away from the ring, you're kind of forced to just have a singles match, and then you kind of move it out of the ring as they eventually get closer and closer and closer. There's that buildup. Instead of that, they just basically had false finishes the whole match, which was kind of interesting in its own right. You could argue either way, which is better, but I mean, there was constant action in this match. There was constant threat of being put into that mimosa.
Yeah, you think that's why they had one on either side?
I think so. Yeah. You kind of tease it to one side, and then you move over. You tease it to the other side. It's very possible that was the reason for that. But yeah, they had some props out there. They had the I don't know what you want to call it, but the cooling bucket and some ice, and there was some bubbly there. I think a couple spots may have gotten ruined as Jericho puts one of the buckets down. One of the bottles exploded. And so I wonder if there was going to be a bottle shot of some sort over the head. It was obviously candy glass, the stuff they use in the movies that breaks really easily. Maybe that spot was ruined because of that.
Yeah, that could be why he used the plate.
Right. Yeah.
And exactly. That cut Cassidy open. That was quick.
I didn't even notice.
I feel like that was a shoot for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's live TV. You gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, I mean, it was a good match. I really enjoyed it.
For as hokey as it sounded, it turned out pretty well, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the rubber match. They both had a win on each other. It was this was one of the tougher ones to predict. I remember I had to pick first on this one, and my guts telling me Orange Cassidy, but my brain's telling me stick with Jericho. He's the GOAT. He's not going to win to the lazy guy twice, but I stuck with my gut. I bet on the horse, the Cassidy horse once again. What did you think of this finish? I thought it was. I mean, for how it was set up, it was the way to go.
Yeah, I think any other way that it would have went, I don't think would have worked. If he would have kind of just dragged him there and dropped him in the pool, I think wouldn't have looked too cool. I like that this ended with Orange Cassidy's with his finisher move, the orange punch, and Jericho takes a good spot here. He nails it.
Yeah,
those vats, or the opening to them, were not very big, so he could have easily cracked his head open on the side, but he nailed it.
They did have pool noodles cut open to kind of cushion the edges just in case somebody did take a wrong fall. But the visual of him, he takes an orange punch and he's kind of hanging on. He gets his feet back, but then, Cassidy's there for another one, and then he takes the bump into the mimosa. There's a big splash. Cutler, Austin, Billy, Kylan King, they're all over there. They all got soaked, which is pretty cool. It's almost like they weren't expecting it. I don't know if you've seen BTE yet, but Cutler Cam was right there, and you see Austin. He's just like, "What the hell, man?"
Oh, really? No, I haven't seen it.
It's almost like they didn't what did you think was gonna happen, kind of thing. It was a good finish. Orange Cassidy takes it. The gamble worked out for me. After going into the final match, I'm up 7-5, and the night's pretty much over for you here. I'm fairly worried at this point because these last two matches I somewhat took some risk in who I chose. I thought that MGF was my solid pick, but down by 2, I can't even win at this point, and I'm just more worried about looking embarrassed. Right. Well, I mean, 5 out of 8 right now. That's pretty good. But before we get into the main event on this card, we get the announcement of Full Gear will take place November 7th, 2020. Basically just acknowledging that Full Gear is coming back this year. And AEW stayed true to their word. They were going to stick with their 4 pay-per-views a year. And that was it. They weren't going to saturate their market with monthly pay-per-views. Quickly, what are your thoughts on the 4 pay-per-view system as opposed to the 25 pay-per-view system that the Vanilla brand has?
I like it. I mean, to me, it's anticipation. I'm already can't wait for November to come so we can watch this. When the pay-per-views are too close together, I mean, who can afford to shell out that amount of money every month for that? And I mean, Vanilla Brand has pay-per-views like weeks apart now. The last 2 were a week apart, which is a bit ridiculous. So no, I like the anticipation. I like the build up that's going to happen, and November 7th we're gonna watch this one together, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully. I agree with everything you're saying there. The monthly thing, you're almost forced to have those short storylines where when, matches are 3-4 months apart, you can build proper stories and have proper endings. So, yeah, I really like the 4 pay-per-view system. let's move on to the last match of the night, the final match, the main event. I don't know. I can't think of any more nicknames for a main event, but it's Moxley versus MJF. I thought I had one more on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't get it out. AEW World Heavyweight Championship match, Moxley versus MJF. Hashtag not my champion. Hashtag MJF 2020. All that's coming to a head. This match was surprisingly good. I didn't think this match was going to be as good as it was, but I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know what you mean by, yeah. I don't know what I was gonna say there.
I mean, when you think of Moxley and MJF and how they were building the story, MJF's gonna wrestle with Moxley. He's not gonna fight Moxley. So, I mean, you're anticipating a lot of, headlocks and snapmares and, hammer locks and all this stuff. And I mean, we did get that stuff, but it's not like MJF was holding him in a 4-minute headlock like we may have seen back in the 90s or back in the 80s. Like, this was a professional wrestling match, but I mean, there was still the fast pace of the modern style of professional wrestling. So I think that's where I'm coming from, where it's just like, yeah, you kind of, the way they're building the story, you think it's going to go one way, but they kind of took it another way, and it was surprisingly well done. We get some color from MJF, which was
Lots
surprising. I feel like it would have been the other way, the way they built the go home show and MJF busting open Moxley at the end of Dynamite. You think that's just going to continue on, but it goes the other way. MJF was really working Moxley's arm, which was a good, side of the story. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we created a drinking game out of this,
which didn't pay out.
Jeff says, he anticipated that we were going to hear Crimson Mask about 45 times during the rest of the match.
That's JR's catchphrase.
What's that?
Said that's JR's catchphrase. I thought that would have been a decent drinking game. It didn't come to fruition, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Does WWE own that phrase, or
maybe they do? Maybe they heard JR say it 4 or 5 times a couple weeks ago, and they copyrighted it, I'm assuming.
Have we even heard Slobber Knocker yet? I feel like we haven't heard that.
Not in the sense that like, oh, this is a slobber knocker, like JR used to say. He does it more jokingly, like, hey, you know what we got on our hands here? It's gonna be slobber knocker. He does it a little weirdly now, but
yeah,
I have heard it. But yeah, surprisingly, again, Wardlow wasn't a big part of this match. He was out there the whole time, so that was good to see. In a championship match, there wasn't a lot of outside interference. He was a part of the finish, of course, but not in a physical way. So, something a little different than what we probably expected. Everything about this match, like, it came off really well done. I can't put this match over enough. It was awesome.
Yeah, and at one point, one of the big parts of this story is Moxley signing off that he won't do the paradigm shift. And then
we tease it
almost out of habit. He's got him there, but stops and something else happens. I think MJF reversed one of them and had him in an armbar or something like that. And tell us about the finish here. I thought it was a pretty good finish.
Yeah, so Moxley pretty much has the upper hand at this point on MJF. And in a last ditch effort, Wardlow finally jumps up on the apron, kind of distracts Bryce Remsburg, which I'm not even going to talk about why he was the ref of this match. But he's got him distracted, and he does the old side toss. Maybe because of the crimson mask, is covering his eyes, MJF can't catch the ring properly. It falls on the ground, and then we get this cool spot where he's kind of looking on the ground. He finds it, and he does the old all right, this is my chance. But then he looks up and Moxley's already standing there waiting. And he kind of looks up, recognizes that Bryce has his back turned. We get the kick, the double underhook, and we get a paradigm shift just in time for Bryce to turn around and count the 1, 2, 3. I thought it was a really clever way to finish it. I kind of had the idea that, he would win the match and then do it afterwards. He would win the match a different way, and then we'd get the paradigm shift afterwards. But I thought this was really clever. I didn't expect this at all.
Yeah, and I think it's really going to lead into tomorrow's Dynamite, where MJF is going to be calling, Moxley a cheater, and
it's already started on Twitter.
Yeah, so that's good for the storyline because it kind of saves MJF a little bit, I think, from this loss. Not that he really got buried, but he got to the top and didn't succeed. So
yeah, and I mean that's going to be an asterisk on the only blemish, on MJF's solo or singles record, right? Because now he's got that one loss, but he's going to ride that asterisk, for the rest of the year, probably a whole nother year. You know what I mean? I wasn't defeated. I was cheated. And it's going to add, it takes his character from here to here now. Like his character's even better off by losing.
Yeah, for sure.
It. So yeah, it was awesome. Everything about this match was pulled off really well. Moxley still AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Yeah, exciting stuff. As we close off the show here, what are your overall thoughts on All Out 2020?
Yeah, as a whole, I thought this was a really good show. I really enjoyed it. I think, besides the Swole Brit match, which I think the idea was there, the story was there, but with a little bit better execution would have been perfect. I thought the buy-in matches were really well done. This was definitely worth the money, and if you didn't watch it, I'm sure it's still available for you to watch the replay of it. And Full Gear is going to be just as good, I'm sure. What'd you think about it?
I mean, I really enjoyed All Out. There's been a lot of comparisons. A couple weeks ago, Tony Khan said in an interview that he felt like Double or Nothing kicked WrestleMania's ass, which, I mean, I agree. I mean, WrestleMania was a monster of a show, but it was almost too big for its own britches. I can pull out another saying from 1940. I don't know why I say these things. But, I agreed with Tony.
Should we start doing the show in black and white, or?
Yeah. So I agree with Tony Khan that, Double or Nothing was an amazing show. When I first, right after the show finishes All Out and I'm kind of thinking back, I'm like, yeah, that was a really good show. It was a lot better than even Double or Nothing. But, the more I kind of thought about it, and the conversations that we had here, maybe it wasn't quite as good as a Double or Nothing, but they can't all be home runs, right? But this was a solid triple. If I can continue with the baseball analogies, it was a great show. With one kind of stinker of a match being the tooth and nail match, and the unfortunate accident of the Matt Hardy match. We were kind of robbed of a match there, but I mean, I think they handled everything well, and they told the stories they needed to tell, and I'm excited for Dynamite this week. Like, how are they, the fallout of All Out? I saw that hashtag today. The fallout of All Out. Like, I'm excited to see where they take these things and see where we're gonna going into Full Gear in November. I'm excited. That's all a wrestling promoter can ask, is that his fans are still excited to watch the show after a big show like this. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and I mean, when we were watching Vanilla, the shows we always looked for were the Raws right after the pay-per-view, and I'm pumped for tomorrow.
we got some exciting stuff. We got a big TNT championship match, Brody Lee versus Dustin. We have Kip Sabian announcing his best man for the on-screen wedding of Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian. I believe we're also getting a tag team match, being Jericho and Hager versus Best Friends, if I remember that correctly.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that'll be good. Yeah, I don't know. It's exciting stuff. Can't wait for this week's weekly show, and we get to review Dynamite and Dark and BT and all that good stuff. But thanks for watching, everybody. This was a little bit longer than I anticipated, but like we had that big moment with Matt Hardy that we had a lot to talk about. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave your comments below. Let us know what you guys thought of All Out 2020 and and all the aftermath and what you think we're going forward with. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Peace. And
Peace.
Fuck you, Corvette. I don't usually do that on these ones, but